Hi and welcome to It Matters. Everybody is discussing different diets, but a far more important issue that affects everybody is not being discussed. I'm talking about nutrition. To understand some basics about nutrition, I have with me Dr. Vibhusha, who is a clinical nutritionist and is going to give us some free tips. Hi Vibhusha and welcome
Zara.
to It Matters.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. I wanted to start with the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian.
Yes, this is a very important question because most of us don't know that there are these two streams. So basically, a nutritionist is one who looks at the person or the person who she is consulting as an individual.
Right.
Because as all of us are different, we have a different fingerprint, we have a different heredity, our biochemical profiles are totally different.
Absolutely.
So a nutritionist looks at the root cause of any particular health complaint or any particular disease which that person has.
Right.
So studying his or her full lifestyle, we can identify what kind of deficiencies might be present which are causing that disease. And
so you cater the entire food structure for that person.
yes. Yes,
Okay.
and certain instructions for his or her healthy lifestyle also, because
Right.
along with food, everything nurtures us, right? So nutrition
Absolutely.
is not just the food which we eat, but it is our environment, it is the exercise which we do or do not. So everything nourishes us. So having a holistic view of the whole person's whole lifestyle is nutrition. Dietetics is mostly limited to the calorie counting and how much calories that person needs, but the calories do not cover the nutrients required by that person.
Absolutely.
So we try to address the root cause of any particular complaint.
If we're talking about a lot of people, what is to start a good day? You need all the energy. You actually need good food to be ingested to
Yes.
last you through the entire day.
Yes.
So what are some of the do's and don'ts that you recommend for first thing in the morning?
So first and most important is don't skip breakfast because we are so in a rush in the morning.
A lot of
We don't
millennials are not going to agree with you, but let's hope they're listening.
Yes, let us hope and at least they listen to what we are trying to say.
Absolutely.
So firstly, don't skip breakfast because there is a clock inside of us. Everyone has that clock which is called as a circadian rhythm. So whenever we wake up in the morning, the efficiency of our digestive system is at its best and most efficient in the morning. So throughout the day,
So I can eat something sweet and not feel guilty about it?
yes, probably for breakfast. That's the best time then.
What great tips. I'm going to have a lot more pancakes now.
Yeah, that's the best idea for breakfast actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What are the don'ts? Like something I should avoid in the morning?
Rather than what you should avoid, so basically we want to kickstart the day, right? We want to feel energetic throughout the day, we want to feel fresh. So the most important component of breakfast should be a protein meal.
Okay.
So it can be in the form of dairy, or it can be some sprouts, or if you have an egg, or if you have some boiled chicken, it can be anything, but it should be a high protein breakfast.
Okay.
Along with some fiber. So protein gives you strength.
Right.
And if you have some fiber with it, it gives you the stamina to feel energetic and fresh throughout the day. So
Right.
fiber can be in the form of a fruit, or it can be in the form of maybe some boiled vegetables or stir-fried vegetables. So protein combined with any form of fiber is the best idea for a breakfast.
Now you brought up sugar and dairy. These have been spoken about a lot by
Yeah.
dietitians, and there are a lot of misconceptions about it.
These are like the most controversial
To
topics
talk
these
about.
days, yeah.
Why don't we talk about dairy? If we should include it in our diet, and how much should be included?
Yes. See, as a nutritionist, or even my personal opinion, I feel that dairy is a must for us these days. Because you might have seen that vitamin B12 deficiencies are very
common now.
I have been practicing for last almost 7 to 8 years, and what I have seen is whenever I ask people to get their B12 levels checked, 99% of them turn out to be deficient.
Wow.
Those who are not deficient, their levels are good because they have already taken the B12 supplements or injections earlier. Only their levels are good. Otherwise, everyone, whether you are a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, everyone has a B12 deficiency.
Wow.
So, among all foods, dairy is the first one, and probably fermented foods after that. But dairy is the best source for you to get all of the B vitamins which you require.
Okay.
In whatever
And
quantity which you require.
In what state should we be consuming it?
It can be consumed in the form of buttermilk or milk
Okay.
or paneer, curd.
And paneer is also great for protein intake.
Yes, of course. It's a very good source of protein. So I would highly recommend dairy. But there is one more concern to consume dairy these days. It's because that mostly we consume either cow milk or the milk which comes from cow or a buffalo, any milk product which comes from them. So buffalo milk I wouldn't recommend anyone to have because it's very high in fats. And because of our sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, we are already consuming too many calories and too many fats. So buffalo milk is something which should be avoided. Cow's milk surely we can consume, but the commercially available cow milk which we have, it comes from the Jersey cows, which are like a sort of a hybrid.
Okay.
And those Jersey cows are injected with a lot of antibiotics and hormones to increase the milk production. So the residues of these chemicals enter the milk and enter inside of us when we drink that milk. And that causes most of the troubles associated with dairy.
Oh wow. So we have to be careful of where we are getting our milk from
so the
and
source.
what. So we have to do a little investigation
Yes.
on our food.
Yes.
The other very controversial issue, sugar.
Yeah.
Should we intake sugar? How much should we intake sugar? What if someone's trying to lose weight? Is sugar still something that must be a part of their diet? How do you see it?
I think that whatever lifestyle diseases or even the infections which are there are like epidemics these days happening in the monsoon season. For the past 4 to 5 years you must have seen. So I think the most important culprit behind the increase of all these things these days is sugar. This is what I feel.
Oh, wow.
By sugar I mean the white refined sugar which we have in our home.
Which everybody has.
Yes, everyone has. The reason is that white sugar is so bad, it inhibits the absorption of all the minerals which we require, like calcium or iron. It inhibits that absorption. It causes insulin resistance, which makes us, susceptible to have diabetes early on or have heart disease early on. Sugar causes hormonal imbalance also. So the hormones like the thyroid hormone, or if you are trying to have a child and you are facing certain difficulties related to that, a hormonal imbalance is always aggravated if you consume excess sugar.
Wow.
So it's that bad. Sugar, weakens our immunity also.
So what substitute would you recommend?
Whatever is natural is always safe in a moderate amount. So maybe if we want to try to replace the sugar in our diet, probably we can try using jaggery as a first step, because we can't directly cut down the sweet taste. We are so used to that
We're
taste.
very used to it.
Yeah, so maybe we can just substitute that with jaggery.
Honey?
Cut down.
Would
the
you
quantity.
recommend honey?
Honey, I wouldn't recommend to be used regularly, because if you heat honey, it is termed as poison. So honey can be only consumed raw.
Yeah, but I know this actually surprisingly, that you should not be heating honey.
Yeah.
But if you're not using it in something hot, is it something that honey is safe to use?
It is safe to use if you are assured of the source. Because
Okay,
a
it has
lot
to
of
be pure.
commercial honey, if you keep it in your cupboard for like 2 to 3 years, the sugar settles down.
Yes.
So it's not the real honey.
It's not pure. Right.
So if you are assured of the source, certainly.
Okay. Another issue I wanted to talk about is the proportions of meals. Instead of absolutely giving up on food and dieting, harsh diets that are bad for your body, what are the proportions you recommend for breakfast, lunch and dinner for a everyday 9 to 5 person who's, who gets out of the house, is tired by the time they come home, they don't feel like eating. What do you recommend for proportions?
I would say that breakfast should be ideally the heaviest meal of the day.
I did not know that. I thought lunch was supposed to be the heaviest.
Yes, lunch is, but a little maybe similar. So breakfast and lunch can contain
Breakfast
the similar
should be
amount
heavy.
of calories or the similar. So basically we want to be energetic throughout the day, right? So that
Right.
if we have the nutrients in the morning, it will give us that energy and that strength to sustain throughout the day.
Right.
So breakfast should be as wholesome as possible. Why I am saying this? Because actually it's a very efficient trick. Because if most of us are working and if we are out of the house throughout the day,
Right.
sometimes it is not practically possible for us to carry 4 to 5 tiffins with us, or sometimes if we have some business meeting or if we want to go out to meet a client, the lunch time gets delayed from 1 to any time between 4 5
Yeah.
any time. So we do not have control over all of this. So why not have a very heavy breakfast before you leave home? That is something which you can control.
Absolutely.
Right? And you can have it fresh, you can have it, prepare it at home and consume it fresh. So that's the best tip you can follow, So basically, many people who come to me, they have a basic challenge that I cannot make all these changes to my lifestyle in just one day. It is very difficult,
Yes.
change the lifestyle. So this can be the first step. So at least try to have a very heavy breakfast. Then it is okay if the lunch is skipped or the lunch is delayed, or if
Your
you are
body
having
has
something
enough
outside.
fuel to sustain
Yeah,
itself. What about dinner? How heavy should the dinner be and what time should we have it?
Dinner should be I think the most light meal of the day, because we are going to sleep.
I have so much to change. I'm going to go home and change my lifestyle so drastically today.
Yeah, actually.
What is the ideal time to have dinner?
2 hours before you sleep. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so if
So-
you sleep by say around 11:30, so dinner should be before like 9 or latest by 9:30, so that you have sufficient time for the dinner to be digested, and then you go to sleep, because there are so many other
Now, this
functions
is very
happening.
doable. There are
Yes.
people who are having dinner 1 hour before their bedtime. They
Yeah.
can just make a little effort and have it an
Yes.
hour early.
Yeah.
And it should be light. What should it consist of?
So for the dinner to be light, I'm not asking you to starve, right? So you should feel full and happy and satisfied after you have your dinner. So the best idea here is have a very fiber rich meal, because if you have a high fiber dinner, the calories are quite low,
Right.
but the fiber content gives you a feeling of satisfaction and fullness.
So lots of
Right?
greens.
Yeah, lots of greens or lots of vegetables with that, or even typical Maharashtrian foods like jawar bhakri maybe, or
What about rice?
I recommend rice. I love rice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I hate
This
chapati
is
and I
another
love rice.
misconception
Yeah.
that you should not have rice at
Yes.
night. It's okay if you're having it in small proportions
Yes.
and you're having it systematically.
Yeah, see, basically it's about the balance, right?
Absolutely.
So even though rice is, a lot of carbs, if you consume organic rice, if you consume rice which is hand pounded,
Right.
which is not polished, then it has a lot of nutrients along with it. It has a lot of fiber.
I'm noticing that one thing that you have insisted on all through is that we should know the source of our food.
Yes, yes.
And because the lifestyle is so fast nowadays, we don't. I'm picking up the first thing I find
Yeah.
in a grocery
Sometimes
store.
practical also it's not possible.
Yeah,
We don't have.
but I think just that one day when you're going grocery shopping is something you should find out where that food is coming from.
Yes,
That will help a
we
lot.
should be aware.
I want to know, in your opinion, what are the effects of extreme diets? There are lots of diets in the
Yeah.
market, and some of them are very, let's just say, they're difficult. How do you see it in long run? How does it affect the body?
Before I answer that, just one thing which I would like to say is your diet is not something which you will be following for 1 month or 2 months.
Right.
You will be eating as long as you are alive, right?
Yes.
So a diet should be something which you can sustain throughout that lifetime.
So you don't recommend people who go on a 3-week diet and a 2-week diet, those extreme juice
Yeah.
diets. Do you recommend those, or do they work?
Ideally, I wouldn't recommend, because we are not, first of all, we are not used to, doing a very crash diet. So it's like a little bit of a mental stress for us that there are so many restrictions which I, have to follow. I had once tried to do that when I was experimenting on myself, I
Right.
was learning. So whatever things I loved, which I had to avoid during that time, I had the most,
Craving
craving
for it.
for that in that
It
time.
happens.
Yeah,
I've been
exactly.
there.
Exactly. So if you're so much stressed that I have that craving and I cannot eat that, that creates such a huge stress on our minds, right?
Yeah.
So already we have so many stresses around us. There is a financial stress, our work stress, whatever it is. So why add on that to that?
Absolutely.
So it's always better to, you know, do a consistent diet which you can follow regularly every day.
I wanted to ask you your opinion on detoxifying. This is a word that we hear in media all the
Yeah,
time.
every time.
But I don't think there's enough clarity on what it means and how to do it.
Yeah. See, so detoxification literally means getting rid of the toxins, right? And these days there are so many toxins which enter inside of us.
Right.
So it's because of the polluted air, the food which we eat, it is all grown chemically. There are so many chemicals used, so all of their residues enter the food. The water which we drink is chemically treated, so those chemicals come with that water.
Wow.
These days we have to rely on a lot of medicines, because even simple painkillers also, we take so many of them these days.
Yes.
So all of these medicines have their toxic residues which stay inside, and this is something which is external. But there are a lot of chemicals which are produced internally also, mostly because of stress. So which we call like premature aging, you know, we see a lot of hair fall, we see a lot of diabetes happening very early. So that is all happening because we are aging inside prematurely. So all those chemicals which are synthesized inside of us because of that extra stress, these are all accumulated through the years. So there is some point of time where if we want to stay healthy and if we want to prevent any illness, we should get rid of those toxins.
Okay.
So getting rid of those toxins is detoxification.
Okay.
But I feel that going on a 10-day detox diet or a 1-month detox diet is not sufficient, because all of these toxins are going to be entering every day, right?
Right.
We will be facing all of them every day. So we should have some elements in the diet or some modify some aspects of our lifestyle where we can have that detoxification every day.
Okay.
We should be able to enhance our efficiency of detoxification because it has to happen every day.
So what are some of the things I can intake every day that helps me detoxify my toxins?
There are few foods in the diet which nourish our liver, because liver is the only organ inside our body which can neutralize any toxin which enters inside.
Okay.
Okay, so having liver nourishing foods is your best strategy to detox.
Okay.
So there are a lot of foods which have a very pungent odor, like cabbage, capsicum, onions, garlic. These typical foods, they are sulfur rich foods, and they have their peculiar smell because of those sulfur compounds. So those foods are the best foods to have for a healthy liver.
So actually what I'm understanding from our conversation is all the things that you're recommending are very easily around us. They're not expensive. They are not, you don't have to go to special shops. But we just have forgotten how good these are for our body.
We have forgotten their value.
Yeah.
Right?
This is something our grandmothers would always insist on, and is why they were so much more healthier than us.
One more aspect why they were so much healthier is the kind of food they consumed.
Yes.
Right? Earlier, before maybe 50 years or 70 years ago, the food which was grown, most of it was grown naturally, or whatever chemicals were used, they were used in a much lesser amount than they are today. Right? So the base of our health, or the base of everything which we do, is the food. And I think we should also be careful about the kind of food which we consume. If we can try to consume organic food, if we can try to consume chemical free food, then that is like the easiest way for us to stay healthy, right?
Absolutely. And this is something that you especially need to do if you have kids at home.
Of course.
Because they're still growing up.
Yes.
I'm going to get some free tips from you. Let's talk about some tips you would give to pregnant women during pregnancy that they should do and shouldn't do.
For pregnancy, I think before you prepare for a pregnancy, it is the best time to do a detox, right? Because most of the toxins which are there inside of us, these chemicals these days, they are so, let us say, sticky that they bind our genetic material also. And if you are loaded with toxins, because if you have habits like smoking, or if you're
going to pass it to your child.
you're going to pass it to your child also. All those chemicals are going to be passed on. So before you're trying to have a child, ensure that you have a chemical free lifestyle. Your whole body is, as far as possible, it is free from chemicals, and even throughout the pregnancy, this is something which, go natural as much as possible overall with your overall lifestyle. That is one thing which is, I think, very important.
And some don't, that they absolutely should avoid during pregnancy or before pregnancy.
If you are having trouble to even conceive a child, some things related to food which you need to avoid is, first and foremost, is the alcohol intake for both the would-be mother and the father.
And this is something I think even doctors, physicians tell you that avoid alcohol if you're trying to get pregnant, and especially if you are pregnant.
Yes,
it's
because
a big
it hampers your brain functioning, the brain development it hampers.
Oh, wow.
And if you are having even a difficulty, conceiving, it hampers the sperm count and the sperm motility also. It's that bad.
Wow.
So at least in that period, alcohol is something which has to be avoided. And with respect to the foods, any food which contains artificial food color, which contains food preservative, these are the two foods which we call as teratogens. So basically it can cause cancer to the fetus.
Oh, wow.
So that is something which has to be strictly avoided.
Okay. A tip you would give for families that have young children in their house, a do that they must include in their food and a don't.
For families who have young children, firstly, you need to set an example for your kids, right?
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Everybody wants their kids to eat green vegetables, but they're not doing it.
So the kids, basically, they imitate us. I have a 1-year daughter right now.
So she is copying you.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So she will be copying everything I do, how I speak, what I eat, how I behave. So it's very important for me to have better habits if I expect her to have, better habits. So that is the first important thing. The second important thing is try to whenever your kids are weaning from milk and you are introducing new foods, try to introduce to them as much variety as possible. So if your kids like banana, don't give them banana every day. Try to introduce a lot of different fruits, as many tastes as you can.
Right.
Of course, do it gradually, not one fruit every day and go on changing so
don't
much.
Shock your child.
Yeah, don't shock them. Yeah, but at least introduce them. Even a pinch full of a different taste is sufficient for the child to get introduced to that taste. So introduce as many flavors, as many tastes as possible.
Isn't this also good so that later on you don't have a very fussy child?
Yes, of course.
Because I know parents who get worried, so they keep giving the child what they want, and they have very fussy children, like by the time they're 6 and 7.
Yeah, this is a very important question. One more reason why children are fussy these days, because at a very young age, even after just the kid is a few months old, we introduce the first taste which we introduce is sweet, and mostly using sugar.
Wow.
Right? So sugar is something which you should totally avoid giving your child till he is at least 1 year old.
Okay.
Don't even mix the milk with sugar. You can add like a paste made out of dates, or maybe you can add a little bit of jaggery. There is even no need to add any sweet taste, because the kids are used to it.
Yes.
They don't
know any difference.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know the difference, and they are not born, with a taste perception. It develops as their age increases. So, cut down the sugar as much as possible, because that is the most important cause of having picky eaters, or of having very fussy children, or even hyperactive children.
Yes.
So if you cut down the sugar, that makes a lot of difference.
What would you say the best advice or tip would be for people who have diabetes and an absolute no-no for them?
For diabetes, everyone knows that we should cut down sugar.
Yes.
Right? But that is only a way to keep the sugar levels in control after you have diabetes.
Right.
Right. But if you are having diabetes, it means that there are a lot of underlying deficiencies. That is the reason why you have that health issue in the first place. So try to overcome those deficiencies. Right. So those deficiencies can be overcome, of course, with the help of a healthy diet. Along with that, you need to manage your stress. Along with that, you need to exercise every day. So look at it with a very holistic view. not
It's a lifestyle change.
Lifestyle change, yeah. Basically, most people who come to me for a consultation, they feel very happy that I am doing something for diabetes when they just cut down sugar.
Right.
But it's not sufficient. It is something which you have to do, but it's just a first step towards managing diabetes. So try to modify your diet. There are a lot of effective foods with which you can keep your diabetes in control without even taking medicines.
Okay.
So the diet is that effective in case of diabetes. Also, one more thing is people use because they want that sweet taste and they have to avoid sugar. People use a lot of artificial sweeteners, right? There are
the ones that sweeten, but they say that they're not sweetening.
yeah, the ones which taste sweet, but they
Right.
do not contain sugar. There are a lot of
There are a lot of
sweeteners
them on the
available,
market.
yeah.
Yes.
So, but they consume, they confuse your hormonal machinery inside. The insulin producing cells, they confuse those cells because the cells sense that there is a sweet taste but there is no sugar. So, there is a lot of confusion inside and they also cause a lot of side effects if consumed for a long term. So, go for natural sweeteners. So, that is the very important thing for diabetics.
Now, this is something that's applicable to most millennials and a lot of hardworking people.
Yeah.
Snacks that they can carry with them, or something when they're out, because everybody is going for the junk
Yeah,
food,
of course.
something that's right there on the street, or what would you recommend, something they can carry in their dabbas or that they can get in restaurants that is a healthy substitute for snacks?
See, mostly snacking occurs in the evening.
Yes.
Like 5 to 6 p.m. That is the period when we feel hungry and we have a craving for very spicy food, or when most often we are outside and we do not have any access to food. So if you are outside and if you are not carrying your tiffin, you can have very simple things like nariyal pani. There are a lot of healthier options available these days for yogurt. There are different flavors, so it tastes good and it is quite filling. So you can try and to have a yogurt whenever you are
It's
outside.
almost like a dessert now.
Yeah, it's like a
It's
dessert.
very tasty.
Yeah, very tasty. It is filling. It is healthy. So that is one option which you can have. Buttermilk is a better option or a better substitute. And if you can carry something from home, there are things like you can carry boiled sprouts if you like, which are quite healthy, which is filling. You can make a chaat out of it to make it tasty.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what about people who like spicy stuff?
Yeah,
so chaat they can make with sprouts, and that's very healthy.
Yeah, that's very
It has
healthy,
a little bit of onion, a little bit of everything actually.
Everything. Also, one more option is there are a lot of puffs available these days, right? Made from jawar or made from any other cereal. Even popcorn is a healthy meal. So,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, it's just puffed maize, right? So there are no chemicals
So
while
if you're
doing that.
just watching a movie with your kids and all, you do recommend that
Yeah,
you
it's
can
the
have...
best finger food you can have.
Oh, that is good news. I have packets
so
of popcorn at home.
Yeah, that's the best thing to
Because
have.
that's, every time you were having a movie night,
Yeah. See, so basically or my approach or even the principle of nutrition is you don't need to consume bland food, you don't need to consume a very uninteresting and boring looking food for a healthy diet.
Right.
You can consume very tasty food, and you can enjoy all the aspects of a nutritious healthy meal
variety
with the taste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vibhusha, for talking to us. I do want to say, if you have any special health concerns, then I would recommend that you find a nutritionist and get a diet plan that is specific to your needs. You can also follow Vibhusha on her YouTube channel, where she gives very, very informative and useful tips for everyday life with things that are easy to find. You can find her on social media as well. We give too much importance to how skinny we are or how we are looking. But in the end, the only thing that's important is our health and the health of your loved ones. So please pay attention to the nutrition in your food, because it matters.